Now, the most interesting technique, which is sliding window. So here I've previously explained, let's say your input, output, all of these have took 50,000 tokens. The model limit is 50,000. You have already finished all the 50,000, which means you cannot ask any new question. It cannot give any extra output. In this situation, it will be like this. For one input, I got this as output. For the second input, I got this as output. All the 50,000 have been consumed, which means now I cannot use the LLM again. I cannot ask new questions. But if you observe ChatGPT, you can chat infinitely in a single session. How are they handling it? They're using a very simple trick here, which is called a sliding window. Let me take all these. This is 4, 5. And above all of this, I've got my system instructions. Let's give it red color. Go with yellow. Okay, so I've got my system instructions and I've got all these input, output, input, output. Now each is taking up around 10,000 tokens. Length is 50,000. Token context length is 50,000. So what ChatGPT is doing is they are using something called as a sliding window algorithm, where they will take only this part into consideration. Sorry, it will be here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus the system instructions. So what it is going to do is it will take your previous conversations, or actually it's not going to take that. It's going to take only until this part. So whatever inputs that you have previously passed will fall under the 50,000 limit. It will take only those. So if you observe here, let's start with this one. Okay, so this is 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. All 50 have been consumed here, but now it cannot pass the system instructions, right? So it has to pass the system instructions for sure. So what they'll do is they'll try to remove one conversation, not just one input, but one input output combination that will be removed. Now if you see 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. This is within 50, so definitely it will work, no error whatsoever. So they will pass it here. Let's say tomorrow, after some time, or after getting the output 7, I'll ask one more question, which is eighth question. Now what it will do is it will simply slide it like this. Again, 10, 20, 30, 30,000 here, and this is 40,000. Still less than 50, so this will also work. So here I'm just assuming that every conversation is consuming 10,000, but usually when you're chatting with ChatGPT, your questions will be very, very small, your answers will be very huge, and sometimes your input might be very big, but the output might be very small. So it changes from different situations. So they have this particular window and they will slide it so that it is always less than the token context length. Whatever is the token context length of this model, they're using GPT-5. Yeah, they've used GPT-5 for this. So whatever is the token context length of GPT-5, they have made sure all of your inputs and outputs will fit within that context window by using the sliding window algorithm. And finally, we have tick token. So if you want to implement the same sliding window in your chatbots, you need to check how many tokens each conversation is taking up. So here I've just roughly given you this word saying that each takes up 10,000 tokens, but in real life, that is not the situation, right? Sometimes the input will take up only 10 tokens or 20 tokens, but the output might take up 100 tokens, 200 tokens, 5,000 tokens. It can be anything. So we need to calculate the number of tokens present inside of each input or output. To do that, we use a library called as tick token. I'll copy this code. Let's try to run this and see how it looks like. So I'm passing a very simple string. In a galaxy far, far away, a new hope emerges. I'm using tick token library and I've passed this one as the encoding model. I can also pass GPT-4. Let's pass GPT-4 actually. No, 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 okay. Let's go back. Oh, okay, GPT-4. No, not working. Yeah. So you can see this is the original text, and these are all the different token integers as per this encoder. Okay, we don't know if I mean they're definitely not using this encoder in ChatGPT, but let's say if your chatbot is using a model which is trained on this encoder, then you can use this one. But let's say if you're using GPT 4.0 then you can use the GPT-4o encoding model. You can just pass it here. Then you can get your token and integers and your token count. In this case, this piece of string is taking up 13 tokens. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and full stop 13. 13 tokens. Yeah, there you go. So in that way, depending upon your token context length, you need to calculate your number of tokens. You need to slide your context window, and then you'll be able to have infinite number of conversations with your LLM. But the problem here is, let's say if my input 8 question is, what is my first question? Or what was my first question? It has absolutely no idea about this first input. It will assume that this is where the conversation has begun. So it will give you the input 7 as your first question, not as this one. So this is kind of like a drawback. You can observe the same thing in ChatGPT as well. If you have a very huge conversation in a session where you have already exceeded 200,000 tokens, and in that situation, you can ask it, what was my very first question? Then you'll observe it will not give you the very first question. It will give you some question in the between because that is where the sliding window has actually started. Okay, that is about tick token library. And understanding the pricing, as I said, for input tokens, you will have to pay this much of price. And for output token, you'll have to pay this much of price. If you combine both of them per request, uh, let's take a very simple example where for input you got the bill of $5, for output you got the bill of $20. So which means for that one request, you have to pay $25. This is how the cost is calculated for different models. And these are just rough estimates, okay? You need to check the official documentation for latest rates.